Welcome to Beer Net Radio. Listen to on every continent except Antarctica. B-E-E-R-R-N-E-T.
Beer.
Beer Net Radio.
Oh my god. Why is this so dark?
I think it's fine.
Yeah? Okay. Harry's gonna be like, good lord, Jen.
Yeah, we'll see what Harry has to say.
Yeah, right. Oh, I forgot my beverage. Oh no, here it is. Gotta have 3 of those. Do you think he's lost? Remember how he wanted to come on 15 minutes early?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello! Oh my God. You know, part of the problem, Jen, is that you're not wearing headphones. So you can't hear how loud. Do you see how we're wearing headphones?
Harry, I've listened to some of these playbacks when you're not on, and I sound completely normal. You have nothing to do with it. Are you at?
Where are you
Harry?
coming from? Harry?
I'm having French fries. I'm at Millie's house. I'm staying with her.
Nice. Oh yeah, dude. You know what I just saw snooping through your shit, Harry?
What?
This crazy woman is a teacher,
Yeah.
dude.
So
what
for those at home, we've had somebody Melissa had somebody try and break into her house twice. And then the second time, this crazy person tried to light the side of the house on fire. I mean, not in a serious way, but like tried to build like a little campfire with like a lighter and some leaves right against the house. And
Little flint starter.
yeah, if she had any accelerant. But this person's clearly got, substance abuse and mental issues. I think she has the wrong house. We're not even sure. But the point is that we're trying to get, since it's she hasn't broken in, but it's still scary. And so we're just trying to get the DA to do something, just get like a restraining order to make her aware that we know who she is, that she knows that I know that she knows, that sort of thing. And the sad thing about the criminal justice system in the US is you can't just have it done. If you're dirt poor, nobody's going to listen to you. You have to hire a lawyer to really get anything done, but that's just the nature of the business. So, but yeah, she's a school, or she was a school teacher. I think I did my own investigation on her, and this woman's she was fired and has issues. But anyway, enough about that. Speaking of issues, look at Stone. I told you Stone was going to sell, but I did not. I didn't call the Sapporo angle. I gotta admit. Of course, we got word. We've suspected for a while that Stone was in play, and it has been, and we knew something was happening that night before, that Thursday night last week, but we didn't know what. But we knew it was probably coming out of Japan, right? Just because of the timing when the Nikkei closes, and so like Jen and I were on a text thread, and I said, looks like I'm having Nobu tonight. And Jen goes, San Antonio has a Nobu?
No, Harry, you were like Nobu or Grimaldi's, aka Brooklyn or Asia. And
now you're calling me out.
Peter Luger's.
Grimaldi's.
Not Grimaldi.
Okay, that was lame, to be sure. But the distribution part's not a part of it, which doesn't surprise. It sounds to me like the debt that they owe to that private equity firm is staying with the distributorship. Yeah. And somewhat. So when the distributorship is sold, then they can pay back and whatever Molson, they can get out of Molson Coors. But have you guys read Greg Cook's explanation on his blog?
The thing that's wonderful about that is that, like, what he should have said is, I said I would never sell out. I was an asshole, guys. Also, it was marketing piece, right? But he basically goes to like rationalize why he was right then and he's right now, right? And it's just like, come on, man.
Right. Look, yeah, he wraps himself in a big beer pretzel.
Yeah. Here's my issue is everyone's, calling him out saying he sold out. Did he really sell out, or is this like a waving of the white flag. I mean, typically when I think of selling out, it's like, okay, there's more money I can make and I don't have to put up with this independence. But this seems more like he had no choice.
Well,
And
I think that's true, Jordan. But in honesty, he sold out in 2016 or whenever.
Yeah.
to VMG.
Yeah, that's when he got his money out of the deal.
Right.
So he's already been. It really doesn't matter to him, I don't think. And so it isn't, because the onus is on this private equity firm. They need to get their money back, and they're not. I can tell you that. I don't know what the distributor's worth.
Well, that's the question. Is it going to get $464 million?
And whatever they get out of Molson Coors.
Yeah.
Which is, is there anybody that's more cynical than Greg? I mean, I don't feel like I'm bashing him, but I mean, this is, you know what? Everybody's for sale.
Yeah, this is just all part of what makes craft, right? It's a marketing machine. The BA marketing machine did really well for craft for a long time. And part of it was no sellouts. But the reality is these are for-profit businesses, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's just the reality.
Right.
So, but
yeah, I mean, listen, I love my kids, but there is a price, and
that you pay.
Yeah. And it's surprisingly low.
All right. Well,
so you know what? I got to tell you, Jen, when it's so hot outside, like it is right now, 100 degrees, you know what I like? I like to crack open a cold can of Montucky Cold Snacks. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
I hear you.
All right. Well, let's let them in and you can introduce them. I love this brand because it is the most unpretentious brand in the world. Well, hell, I waited too long. And now he's back off. Oh, no, there he is. Okay, Jen, he's got him.
Connecting.
Well, trying to get it figured out. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. All right, everyone. I'd like to welcome to BeerNet Radio, Chad Zeitner, the man, the myth, the legend, who started Montucky Cold Snacks a decade ago with his best bud, Jeremy Gregory. Did I get all that right?
Pretty much nailed it.
So for the few of you who don't know, Montucky is this super cool, kitschy, economy priced craft brand with the rainbows and the horses and everything and your hopes and dreams on the cans. You guys have had some impressive stats lately. You're in 30 markets and counting, up double digits year to date, looking at the 1 million case mark this year. Amazing stuff. So I got to out you a little bit. I hear you and Jeremy are kind of like the odd couple. Is that true?
I feel like in every great relationship, you got opposing dynamics, but yeah, it works really well between us.
Nice. So, all right, the story is that you guys, both of you, dreamt up the brand at a bar in Bozeman, Montana, like a decade ago when you guys were just kids. You were just 20 something, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're on the upper ends of 20s, but yeah, still definitely kids. I mean, I still like to think of us as kids, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, now that you're 10 years in, I mean, how is it? How's the industry compared to how you thought it would be? What's the easiest part and what's the hardest part?
I mean, it's quite a bit different than we thought it'd be, obviously, from, two kids with no industry experience trying to break into something like this. And, it kind of, you learn real quick, there's a lot more to it than just making good beer and having fun. So that was probably the hardest part for us, is just figuring out the industry. I mean, there's so many nuances to it, especially as you expand from state to state, all the regulations and rules are different, contracts. I feel like I almost have a law degree at this point, like wading through all that stuff.
That is so true. I mean, yeah. I always tell people when they're getting in, I'm like, it's very legal heavy. In fact, we have a new editor coming in. I don't want to speak too much because it's not completely done yet, but she comes from a legal reporting background. And I was like, you know what? That's probably even more valuable than a beer background at this point.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy. If I would have realized how many, legal documents and contracts I had, I might have reconsidered, but it's definitely been fun.
Well, okay, but at least at the moment, right, with the economy being the way that it is, it would seem that you guys are better positioned than ever as a sort of economy priced craft brand, right? So, like, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously biased on this, but I feel like we're pretty well positioned regardless of the economy. And in particular right now though, with people kind of pinching, tightening their belts and pinching their pennies, like it plays well for us. We're that value brand, but we add a lot, we have a lot of value add from our charity aspect to, we're an independently owned small company, competing against the international domestics. It gives us a leg up for sure.
Cool. Let me ask you, so obviously 8% back to charity, right? 8% of profits back to charity is a big angle for the brand. How do you choose which charity you're going to, benefit?
That's evolved so many different times. I mean, when we started, it still is a little bit of anybody and everybody. I mean, we try, if somebody reaches out with a good cause, I mean, we'll do what we can to help. But we've really tried to focus that a little bit, at least on a national level. So last year we worked with She Jumps as our kind of national charity, to really just kind of focus at least our major efforts on, promotions they're doing and supporting them, and kind of getting, in the summer, we'll switch the back of our 12 packs and kind of do a little story about that charity. This year's Punk Rock Saves is our kind of featured charity. So really just trying to be better partners with a charity that kind of covers the broader geographic areas that we're in. But then still on a local level, I mean, it's literally everything from a cat shelter to, food banks, really anything. So it's one of the things I love the most. So, we do what we can, and it ends up being quite a bit more than the 8%, but it's worth it in our book.
Uh-oh.
That's cool.
Yeah.
More than 8%. That's crazy.
Well, do you think is your average consumer of Montucky Cold Snacks? You mentioned, a punk rock. Is it young kind of punk, or does it run the gamut?
It honestly, it runs the gamut. When we started, Jeremy and I are kind of, heavy in that ski scene here in Montana, like the outdoors world. So, that was our original bread and butter. As we've kind of expanded out to different markets, it changes by market. Portland is a little bit more of that hipster scene, for lack of a better term. In Tennessee, it's a lot more of that country. Texas has got a different demo, than Denver.
Is PBR probably your closest competitor? Or
I'd like to say so. I mean, they've been, for lack of a better term, it's kind of, we wanted to be the PBR Montana when we started. So that what they've done, especially in the past, when they kind of revitalized themselves, it was pretty impressive. So that did have an impact on kind of how we thought about things, and they're leagues ahead of us in a lot of ways, but you got to shoot your sight somewhere, right?
Right. Cool.
Is that who you want to sit next to, like on the shelf too? Or
yeah, like on off premise, no, we kind of want to, I think we play better in the more premium domestic space. I know PBR is kind of creeping up in that space as well. So when you get to, oh, did you guys freeze? No. Okay. When you get to the on premise, we want that value space, like that, shot, your call shot or whatever, and beer special, shot and beer special. But yeah, and in the glass on the shelf, I think this is a domestic premium.
So it's interesting that we're talking about PBR, because I think its last run was during the recession, right, in 2008. So I got to ask, kind of bringing it back to that. Are you guys looking at moving up a bit on price at this point? I mean, everybody else is, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to, like everyone else, we're seeing costs of pretty much everything rise. We've done what we can back in to trim costs and be as efficient as possible, but at some point we'll have to pass those costs on. We'll do what we can to mitigate it. We're a value brand, we realize that, so we're going to be conscious there, but yeah. Short answer is yeah.
Yeah. And then my last one, and then I'll pass it on to Jay. Does anything else kind of concern you about the current environment, whether it's like spirits traction or distributor consolidation or just anything?
I mean, I would say the thing that concerns me the most is probably just the constant innovation. It seems like there's every time you turn around, there's something new. It's super seductive and easy, and like, oh, we got to jump on that wave. We've kind of realized that that's not us. We need to focus on what we're doing and what we do well and keep it simple. I think eventually that pendulum will swing back. I'm overwhelmed when I go down the beer aisle, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? So
I totally agree. It's gotten insane. And I think we've reached that point of not only diminishing returns, but in reverse returns, that we're probably hurting overall consumption, because I'm overwhelmed when I go in the beer, and I'm in the business. So I know. Yeah. So yeah, it's getting crazy. And it's been that way for a long time. We're not saying anything new, but it seems to be rotating faster.
Exactly. Can't keep up.
Some of it's funny too. Like, I sent the editors last night a snap of something on LinkedIn, and it was like, I'm not going to say what it was, but it was like another Better For You brand. And I was like, the industry has become like an episode of Arrested Development now. Like, really? Is this really a brand? But anyway, sorry, Jordan. I just had
it is, because we have a new brand, and the differentiating factor is that it's better for you, and we have this B-list celebrity, and it's like that's kind of table stakes at this point, I think.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about innovation, because you guys are often like praised for how tight your portfolio is. But how many times do you have distributors and retailers coming to you asking for more?
And it's often. Jeff gets hit up quite a bit on that front. But it's you got to take some of it with a grain of salt. We're constantly going to kind of tinker in the background and work on the R&D, because that's just fun. But we gotta make sure what we do and when we do it fits with who we are. So we'll definitely take that into account of what they're looking for and wanting. But like we're just talking about, there's so much out there that we're just going to focus on our beer and kind of see where that takes us.
Yeah. And what are they asking you for more of? More SKUs or new brands?
It runs the gamut, but I would say for the most part, it's draft is probably the number one that we get asked for. And we do some draft in Colorado, and likely we'll expand that out at some point, but it's a whole nother game, when you start.
It's like joining a new industry.
Exactly.
And then you have to receive the cooperage back, and it really isn't. I mean, listen, Constellation didn't even get in a draft until like 10 years ago. So it is a huge investment too, just in float. So
well, and then your can is so iconic that when it sits on a bar, you do see 3 more cans get ordered. Where if it's in a glass, it just looks like any other beer.
That's what August the 3rd used to say when they asked him, we get a Budweiser that you want in a glass. He goes, "It's in a glass." Like, whoa, okay, easy there, partner. Just trying to be a hospitable host here, and you're jumping down my ass. I got more stories like that, but I'm not going to waste anybody's time.
Oh, it's not a waste of time. I love it.
So y'all have experimented a little bit with draft.
Yeah.
And I mean, how does that dynamic work? Like you were just talking about with, because the can really is so iconic, and it's a big can. So it's a full pint. So
I mean, it really just comes down to like picking the right accounts. I mean, there's certain accounts that probably aren't going to do well with our can. They're just draft accounts. And those are the ones we kind of target. And it does well. I mean, right now it's just in Colorado, and there's a lot of ski resorts that crush in the winter. So there's a place for it for sure. And as we grow and expand, and there's gonna be more need for it, but it's not high on our list right now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the iconic can, Jeff told Jen that y'all were thinking about doing a different package, a big 40-ounce bottle. How did that come about, and what's the status on that?
I mean, that's been on the table for a while. Jeremy and I think it'd be super fun, tie a real strong charity aspect into it, or, there's a lot of things we can do, whether it's a limited release or X, Y, and Z. So it's something we definitely want to do. But as the pandemic hit, our contract brewer kind of mothballed that line, trimming costs and just efficiency type stuff. So right now it's tabled, but when we do it, we will let you guys know for sure.
Sweet.
Do some hands marketing.
A lot about your brand is retro, kind of the 80s. And that's when I started growing up in the beer industry. And 40s were huge back then. It was that was a huge package. It's since been replaced, by the 19.2 can and other 32 ounce. But it's very I think it's a right package to kind of bring back have that retro feel.
Yeah, it's probably it's not going to do anything crazy, but I don't have any illusions we're bringing the entire 40 industry back, but but it will be fun.
You never know, Chad. Come on, man. You gotta keep
exactly. If it happens, I'll take it for sure.
People thought that wearing two glasses instead of bifocals wasn't ever going to make a comeback, and look at them. So things, dreams do come true.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what packages are y'all? I know, is it just 16 ounce and 12 packs?
16 ounce, 12 packs. We have a 30 pack and a 24 ounce pack as well, or 24 ounce can. Yeah.
All right.
And I wanted to ask, I know y'all do well in the on-premise, but what about venues? Is that an opportunity y'all see now that we're kind of coming out of COVID? It seems like a place y'all could clean up in.
Yeah, it is definitely a focus of ours, especially like you said, coming out of COVID. We do pretty well in general in venues. They're especially, as the ones we have relationships with, it's a little easier to get in. There's a lot of other ones that, as take a little more to get in than just, that relationship. So it is a focus of ours. We, especially with our 24 ounce can, we play really well there. And yeah, the ones we're in, we're cranking. So I think you're right. It's a place we need to be.
This is sort of a 180, but I got to get this one in before we head out. Seems like a lot of craft brewers right now are buyers or sellers. We were just talking about that before you came on the call. And I'm just curious, can you guys ever see a day where you guys might want to bring somebody else on?
As far as, it's not something we really talked about much as far as bringing another brand on. Like we've talked about, our edge is our simplicity. You bring something else on, you're bringing a lot of SKUs, a lot of different products on. But I'm never going to say never. There's a lot of people doing some amazing things out there, and if the right fit came along, it's certainly something we'd look at.
And who makes your beer for you?
City. Most of it's done in City, La Crosse.
Yeah, that brewery has a storied history. It was owned by G. Howman, and it's been passed around like a stepchild for years. And then finally City picked it up. And I remember when it was built in the 80s, it was the most modern brewery in the country. And it's turned into just a contract powerhouse. It's right there in the middle of the country in Wisconsin. You can ship to both coasts. It's a good, that's a good little unit there, as they say.
Yeah, it's been, when we first started, I don't know, Jen, if you've heard this story, but we wanted to build our own brewery, and the banks literally laughed at us. And it's like, no, we're not going to give you, $1 million to compete against Budweiser. What are you guys, crazy? And that's kind of when we found City Brew, and we're like, all right, this works. And it's been great for us.
Yeah. Well, good. Anybody else? Jen? Well,
that's all I got.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
Chad, I'm going to have me a nice Montucky Cold Snacks before I ease into the afternoon.
That makes two of us.
I love it. I love the name. I love Montucky. Put Kentucky and Montana together. And I was actually in Montana when you first started, when I saw my first one. And I asked somebody next to me who's from Montana, they go, oh yeah, we call Montana Montucky sometimes. And I go, what is Cold Snacks? And she was like, yeah, we call that beer. I was like, well, I like that. I started calling them cold snacks down here in Texas. It hadn't caught on quite yet, but
it's pretty hot down there. It's probably hard to find a cold one.
it is. Trust, I'm drinking a McDonald's though just came out with the Dr. Pepper frozen, and you don't think I'm going to be popping a few of these in the next few weeks? You're crazy. I don't care how much sugar's in it. So, all right. Well, Chad, thank you for being on, and I appreciate it. Thank you for drinking and making beer. And hey, we'll see you down the road.
That's good. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
All right,
Chad.
Thanks, Chad.
Cheers.